Thank you very much. You can be seated. Based on the responses as related to me in chambers, I'm going to overrule the objection at this point in time. However, you still have the right to object if responses warrant objection on the point that you've raised. You may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ms. Nichols, we were talking about the fall 2008, November 2008 timeframe leading up to the county council vote on Mr. Preston's severance package. And I'll start the question again. To your knowledge, was Mr. Preston having phone conversations with county council members about his severance agreement prior to the November 18, 2008 meeting?
I don't know if it was phone conversations.
Do you know, to your knowledge, was Mr. Preston having conversations with county council members about his severance agreement prior to the November 18th meeting?
All I know is what he told me.
And what did he tell you?
He said to me in a conversation him and I were having on the phone, he was a little agitated, and he said that he didn't think he was going to have all the votes that he needed to, get the severance package. That they were having trouble with 2 council members buying into it, so to speak.
And that was in advance of the November 18th meeting?
Yes.
Did he ever relay to you any different assessment of whether he felt like he had enough votes?
No.
Did he ever tell you he thought he had enough votes?
No.
At any point in time, did Mr. Preston ever ask you to donate money to county council candidates?
There was one particular candidate. She was running against Miss Wilson. Her name was Julia Barnes. She worked for Forest College. And I wrote her a check for $100, and he reimbursed me for that.
Had he asked you to make that donation?
Yes.
Did Mr. Preston assist any other council members or folks who were running for council in their election campaigns that you know of?
No, sir.
Did you receive harassing letters about your relationship with Mr. Preston?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Preston receive some as well?
Yes, sir.
There was a SLED investigation about harassment that included harassment of you and Mr. Preston. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
Did Mr. Preston ever ask you to lie about your relationship with him?
He said to me, we need to get our story straight.
Did he tell you anything about what might happen if you were caught?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
He said that he would be fired and I would lose my job too.
Were you at Caters Lake with Mr. Preston on March 10th of 2006?
Yes, sir, I was.
Did anyone tell you to go to Caters Lake that night?
I got a call because I was on my way home and he told me to go there.
You mean a call from Mr. Preston?
Yes.
To your knowledge, was your presence at Caters Lake on March 10th, 2006 with Mr. Preston part of any operation by the Sheriff's Department to find people who were harassing you too?
No.
What happened the next day after you were seen at Caters Lake with Mr. Preston?
I was at home. I got a phone call from my husband. He was very upset. He had gotten a phone call from an anonymous caller saying that, of course, his wife, me, had been caught with Mr. Preston at Caters Lake the night before.
Did you talk to Mr. Preston about that?
I sure did. I immediately hung up with my husband and I called Mr. Preston.
What did he say?
He said, let me go. I need to call Tim Boucher.
Did you talk to Mr. Preston at all after that conversation?
Yes.
What did he tell you?
He told me that he talked to Tim and that, yes, Kelly, it does appear that we were followed last night. And Tim Boucher said, as far as he's concerned, it was just part of the investigation.
Did Mr. Preston tell you anything you should do about talking about the incident at Caters Lake?
Yes, I was told a particular story I was to tell.
By Mr. Preston?
Yes.
And do you know if Mr. Preston and Chief Deputy Boucher appeared at a county council meeting later on to explain the Caters Lake incident?
Yes, sir, I am.
Do you know what they said?
They pretty much said that it was an operation to apprehend the people that were following and stalking us.
Objection.
Yes, Your Honor, just for the record, I don't want to interrupt him, but I have to preserve my rights, or Mr. President's rights. And this whole line of questioning, which we talked about yesterday, we don't think this
objected to the Caters Lake information, and I'm allowing it, and we'll rule on that at a later time. That's the objection we preserved at the beginning of this testimony. I note that you again preserved the objection. I again reserve my ruling until a later time. This is being offered in the form of a proffer. You may proceed.
Yes, sir. I'm going to move on to another topic. Ms. Nichols, did you meet with Mr. Preston at the Holiday Inn Express on Highway 81 in Anderson during business hours on September 15, 2005?
Yes, sir, I did.
Did you meet with him over a lunch break?
Yes, sir.
After you left the hotel that day, did you talk with Mr. Preston?
Yes, I did.
Objection, relevance, I mean,
Your Honor, I thought this was part of what we had discussed yesterday. We were happy to talk to you in chambers if you like about it. This goes to something again that Mr. Preston said in his deposition about what happened, and that this is part of a credit card transaction that was investigated. Mr. McAfee talked about it. Ms. Wilson, he said Ms. Wilson gave this personal credit card information from a transaction. This was the transaction. An investigation happened relating to that.
the investigation, Your Honor, was into whether there was an improper disclosure of confidential credit card information by the county council lawyer. All this stuff was not part of the investigation.
And Mr. Preston, we submit Mr. Preston has lied under oath at least 2 times, including in this case, about what happened at that hotel on that particular day. And I think that's relevant going to his credibility. That's all.
Your Honor, I mean, at some point, this case has to be about the actual severance agreement that they've alleged in the complaint. And we object on relevance, we object on 403 grounds, we object on 404B grounds, we object on improper impeachment grounds, and we object on Bear Enterprises grounds. That, I mean, they're essentially trying to challenge the arbitrary and capriciousness of the vote by Holiday Inn Express credit card receipt transaction questioning. They're trying to turn this case into days of our lives.
Where has this been mentioned by anyone involved in the decision-making process of the severance agreement? I know earlier there was mentions in the notes by Mr. Bright of this particular relationship, but I don't recall anything mentioned by any of the people involved thus far concerning any credit card bills or those charges. Entering into the severance agreement decision.
Yeah, I don't know that anyone tried to tie the two together, Your Honor. I do know Mr. McAfee mentioned.
And I'm going to sustain the objection.
And
Move on to something else. If you want to make a proffer,
that's all I would ask to do, Your Honor. I'll make it very short. We'll just ask a few
let's
questions.
make it very short.
For the proffer.
But I will sustain the objection.
Ms. Nichols, did you set up the, do you know if the plan for using the Holiday Inn hotel room on September 15, 2005 originally involved any plan to allow Representative John Scott to spend the night there that evening?
Originally, no.
Did that plan change at some point
Yes.
based on Mr. Preston's conversation with you?
Yes.
And have you seen the deposition transcript given by Mr. Preston in another case back in 2005 where Mr. Preston talked about the hotel room incident?
Your Honor.
This is just a proffer, Your Honor.
He's asking about a deposition transcript from another case? That's like 3 layers of hearsay.
Well, you know, it's a proffer of his own deposition transcript that he gave to her.
Yeah, I'm going to sustain the objection. If you want to make a proffer, you have a right to make a proffer to preserve the record for appeal.
And that's all I'll do, Your Honor.
All right, then I sustain the objection.
Ms. Nichols, did you get a copy of that deposition transcript that I just mentioned?
Yes, I did.
And where did you get it from?
Mr. Preston.
And does he talk about the Holiday Inn incident?
Yes, he does.
And did you bring it, you have it with you, I'll just mark it.
Yes.
Your Honor, what case is this from, by the way?
This is from the case involving Cindy Wilson and Mr. Preston. So there was reason why Mr. Preston would not want to tell the truth in that deposition, because the sitting county council member, Cindy Wilson, would then know what they had already suspected about his relationship with a subordinate.
Have you seen this deposition?
I haven't. And haven't been
Do you
produced.
have the passage you want to share with the council? So you
Yes,
see
sir.
what you're talking about?
Mr. Tesher, it would be page
Ma'am, don't
12.
answer anything until I rule on their objections. Thank you, please.
Your Honor, this hasn't been produced to us in discovery. And to whip this stuff out at trial, it's more of the same, and we object. This should be struck from the record. It should be disallowed from going into any of this stuff. It's inadmissible under the rules. It's unfair under the procedural rules. It's just improper. It's unsupporting altogether.
Yeah.
All right. Yes, sir, Mr. Tessier, have you provided them with a copy of this?
Your Honor, as Mr. Davis knows full well, he made a decision not to take the deposition of Ms. Nichols or to subpoena her for any
I
documents.
understand that, but I was suspected of discovery concerning documents to be used in trial. I would expect that question to have been asked in written discovery.
Yeah, we did not see this, Your Honor, until whatever night it was, Wednesday night, perhaps this week, when Ms. Nichols
Well,
showed
did you
us.
provide it to him then?
We didn't get a copy of it at that point in time, Your Honor. She was represented by
When
counsel.
did you get a copy of it?
I've never gotten a copy of it.
Of that you're holding in your hand?
This is what she just brought today.
But he knew
How to ask questions
How
about
did
it.
you know to ask questions about it?
Because I,
Well, Mr. Tessier, be honest with the court. About when you found this thing? And
Your Honor,
when you discovered it?
Wednesday night, I believe it was Wednesday night, when Mr. Byron was here as well. He
It may have been Tuesday night.
I don't like to see trial by ambush.
Well, again, Your Honor, in fairness, Mr. Davis could have deposed this witness from along the board. We talked to her Tuesday night.
I understand that, but you have a continuing obligation under written discovery, when you learn of documents that are going to be used by you at trial, to provide those to the other side. That's my understanding of the way discovery works. You have a different understanding?
Well, Your Honor, I think first it would have to be responsive to discovery and something that's in my possession, custody, or control. And I don't control the witness, so I can't force the witness to give me the documents. She's cooperating. We did not get a copy of it.
I've already ruled it inadmissible. And I'm going to let you go into it solely for the purpose of the proffer, if you wish to make the proffer.
Well, I'll just make it a court decision if that's all right.
That'll be fine.
When is the last time you spoke with Mr. Preston?
Would have been in May of 2012.
And is your relationship with him over?
Yes, sir.
Would you agree with me that it's fair to say you're angry with Mr. Preston?
No, I'm not angry.
Are you upset with him in any way?
No, sir.
Are you on good terms with him now?
I don't speak to Mr. Preston now.
Would you make up stories to try to hurt Mr. Preston because of the past relationship you had with him?
No, I just want to tell the truth.
That's all I have, Your Honor.
Your witness, Mr. Davis.
Good morning, Ms. Nichols. We had the pleasure of just meeting about 5 minutes ago, but I am playing as purpose of that. Before we go into things that we might disagree about, I was hoping maybe we could talk about some of the things that we might agree with. And it's true, is it not, that during the 2006-2007 time frame, someone, we don't know who necessarily, but someone was writing anonymous letters and signing your name.
There was one instance where that happened, yes, sir.
In fact, there was more than one instance.
Well, yeah, but it was all linked to the same instance. Yeah.
There was a letter that was sent actually to the Office of Disciplinary Counsel for the Supreme Court of South Carolina.
Yes.
And in that letter, this anonymous person made accusations about a lawyer that you hadn't even met yet.
No, I had not.
And the allegations that they made about that lawyer were false, right?
Right.
And you didn't even know that the letter had gone off to the South Carolina Office of Disciplinary Counsel until they responded to you at your address.
Correct.
And then there was another occasion in that same time period, that 06, 07 time period. And in that instance, they wrote a letter to Senator Billy Odell. Remember that?
Yes, sir.
And they wrote that letter anonymously in your name, and it contained false allegations too, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Just for the record, I'm going to object as to relevant hearsay and lack of foundation. Nothing's been established that these are letters that Ms. Nichols actually sent to anyone. These are,
Well, he asked her if she didn't send them. She admitted knowledge that she didn't send them.
so that goes to relevance. If we're talking about letters she never sent, what's the relevance? Just for the record.
Relevance, Mr. Davis?
Well, we take this relationship issue and put off to the side for a second. Ms. Nichols is a very credible witness about a pattern of harassment that both she and Mr. Preston were experienced during this time period. And there's no doubt, I think that there's a lot that this witness and I can agree on, that this harassment that occurred, and it occurred systematically in different ways. It was unfair. It was targeted at her. It made her a target because of their suspicions of a relationship with Mr. Preston. And I think that it's going to link back to some of the council members if my examination goes down.
Well, I'm going to let you go forward. I'll let you go into the atmosphere in which this decision was made because of its relevance as to why people may have made decisions. Since a question has been raised as to whether or not the decision was arbitrary and capricious. So to the extent that this may be used to further establish the atmosphere in which the decision might have been made, I'll overrule the objection, allow you to go forward.
Thank you. Ms. Nichols, there was an instance too where there was a letter written to Senator Odell. So yes.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
I thought you were just rephrasing the original question. I'm sorry.
And that, like that other letter that we looked at, that had false allegations in it too, and they signed your name on the bottom of it, right?
Correct.
And can you and I agree, Ms. Nichols, that in a civilized society, it's unacceptable to write letters to third parties and sign someone else's name and have those letters contain false allegations against yet another party? We can agree about that, right?
Yes, we can.
There was yet another instance all the way to the spring of 2007. Do you remember where there was a letter written anonymously where they signed your name and it was sent to the Department of Justice? Remember that?
Yes.
And that letter contained false allegations against third parties. Remember that?
Yes.
And all of these letters were designed to try to cause you problems, weren't they?
It would appear that that would be the case, yes, sir.
And they were designed to cause you problems, and they were designed to cause Mr. Preston problems, right?
Right.
Ms. Nichols, you remember there was a woman, and I've never been clear on what her actual name is. Is it Gina or Jenna Trammell?
Jenna Trammell.
Jenna Trammell. And you remember Jenna Trammell, right?
Oh, very much so, yes, sir.
And one of the things that Jenna Trammell did was she stalked you, didn't she?
Yes, you did.
You'd go and you'd buy groceries and you'd look out your rearview mirror and Jenna Trammell would be following you.
No, that's not true.
Well, I mean, as an instance, you'd be looking out your rearview mirror and you'd see Jenna Trammell following you around, right?
On one instance, yes, I saw that.
Was there an instance where you went to a Chinese restaurant?
That is the instance I'm talking about.
And on that occasion, do you remember that Deputy Chief Tim Boucher was actually following Jenna Trammell as well?
I wasn't aware that he was following her. I was aware she was following me, and I called him to come verify that she was sitting in the parking lot of the Chinese restaurant watching me while I was inside.
And you saw Jenna Trammell, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
And did you ever become aware of any relationship that Jenna Trammell had with Cindy Wilson?
Yes, I did.
What was that relationship?
She lived in, from what I could understand or what I was told by Joey, that